Hey everyone, I'm Brian, and you're watching the Build a Place channel. In this video, we're going to be building a portable multi-tape dispenser. So you could have many different kinds of tape on here, different widths, types. It makes it nice that you don't have to have your tape stacked up somewhere on a shelf like I did, and then the ends they get stuck and you can't find the end of the tape. The basic tools you'll see, I used the conduit bender, a drill press, a welder, and a metal cutoff saw. So that's basically all you need to build this. It's really easy to make, so let's get started making this. First thing I'm going to make on this project is the ends. They're going to be 1/2 inch conduit. They're going to be a U-shaped piece. So I'm going to mark back 3 inches for the first bend. I'll set my arrow on that 3-inch spot right there. I'm just going to bend this on the bench top. I should be able to bend it at 90 on here. It's best to do this on the floor. I may have to change the floor here in a minute, but we'll see how it goes. Let's say it's going to bend to 90. Not any problem. 6 inches from the outside edge of this bend. Mark that around pretty good. And then I'm going to set my bender on that point. Now normally you do a back-to-back. Well, this is like a back-to-back bend, but I couldn't. This bender doesn't have a star on it or has some kind of mark on it, but I'm not sure. But you wouldn't be able to get that tight of a bend for a back-to-back, so make sure this is straight up and down. I'm just going to eye it. See if I'm still on my line. Still like I'm on my line pretty good. I'm just eyeing through the bender on that plane, see if I'm pretty straight. If it's off a little bit, I can always fix it. So I'm going to make this bend to 90 also. It seems to be working out okay doing it on the bench top. Not the ideal place to do it. First piece for the side is bent into a U shape. I'm going to have to cut this off at 8 inches from this pot, from the top here down to 8 inches, because that's what this leg is. The next step, I'm going to cut these side pieces. That's what the tape reel is going to mount to. So I'm going to cut those at 11 inches long. I'm going to need 2 of those. Cut this one. Okay. Now I have both of them cut. I'm going to mark in the center. So it's 11 inches, so I need 5 1/2. And this is 1 1/4 inches, so I need to be 5/8 up. So center punch those and drill those. That's going to be a 1/4 inch clearance hole for a 1/4 inch bolt. So I'll drill a little bit bigger than a 1/4 inch. I'm going to put this up the side for now. I'm going to drill those later. Now, what I want to work on is finding how far apart I'm going to put these. I'm going to have these set up like this. And so on them. And then there's going to be a blade in between. And that's will be sitting up somewhere around in this area. That I have a cross piece this will bolt to, and this is what you use to actually shear the tape off. So I need to determine how big of a gap I'm going to leave between these 2 horseshoes. I decided I'm going to make this 13 inches from the inside to inside, so I'm going to cut this piece 13 inches. This is the piece that the blade's going to get bolted onto. Then I'm going to make a cross piece out of conduit for here and a piece for back here to give it some support. Just wanted to cut everything first and then we can weld it up, because I have to weld all this more or less outside because it's galvanized, so I don't want to be breathing galvanized outgassing. So let's cut this to 13 inches. Go right there approximately. I want to figure where that's exactly going to go. It's going to go somewhere in that area. So I got that cut. Now what we're going to do is cut the top for the conduit. For the cross pieces that are going across between the two sides, I'm going to do a saddle cut. So I'm going to show you how to make that. But basically I'm going to need to make the piece that goes across there 13.5 inches, because each time you cut a saddle, it's going to go in about 1/4 inch. So I'm going to need 13.5 inch pieces cut. Then I'm going to show you how I cut these saddles in using a chop saw. First thing you want to do is get a reference line, and it doesn't have to be dead center for this, because the way I'm going to do it, you won't need it. But normally you would find the center of the tube and mark both sides. But for this, I don't have anything that's that size. So I'm just going to mark the end back a little ways and try not to let it move any. Line it back upright, and then mark the other end. And we'll do the same this one. Just mark the end long enough so you'll be able to see it. Okay, for this, I have a block of wood that I've cut a 33-degree angle. That's the angle we want to cut to make the saddle. Then I have my mark. I don't know if you can see it, but it's right there. We want to get the mark all the way to the top. Try to almost at the eyeball it, but you can probably get pretty close by looking at it. You want that straight up to the top, and then you want your chop saw to cut this edge off. So I want to bring this back just a little bit. Just keep adjusting it until you get where you're cutting this part off only. So I think I'm right there now. Looks pretty close. I'm going to cut that. And let that stop. Now we can turn it over and we can do the same thing. We'll try to line this top up as best we can, but we should be pretty close. So let's bring the chop saw blade down, and we just want to cut from this point here that we made across here to form that saddle. So let me get the saw about where it needs to be. And like I said, this needs to be straight up and down, which, let me turn this a little bit more. I'm eyeballing all this right now, and I think it's going to be close enough for what we're doing. Stop. Now we have a saddle cut. It has a lot of burrs and stuff. We'll clean that up with a file, and then we'll see how well that fits. Just clean these two ends up with a rat tail file real quick. And this one goes right there. I have to mark where it goes exactly, but as you can see, the saddles fit fairly tight. That should make it for a nice joint. Just need to make another one of these, and we'll have these pieces all done. We'll have all the, we'll have all the cutting done. We just got to do some drilling, and then let's start doing a little bit of welding here. Okay, I'm ready to mark these holes for the blade. So use some Clecos to hold this blade still while I make these marks. That'll hold the blade where I want it while I mark it, so it doesn't move. The blade's sticking out just a little bit. I'm going to try to get to the center of this cross member. So I'm just going to scribe my lines. And then just use a center punch to center those, and then drill out for a number 6 screw, a clearance hole for number 6. I drilled the clearance all the way through and put a number 6 screw with a lock nut on it. So that's just going to hold the blade on. I'm just going to finger tighten now because I got to take that off when I weld, but this is going to be the cutting edge to cut your tape as you pull it out. So I'll sit right there. I decided to make a slight change to this. Instead of mounting this plate here on the outside, I'm going to mount it in between the horseshoes. So I'm going to just scribe this line on this piece here, and it'll be the same for the other piece. I'll just cut those 2 pieces out. And like here, and get welded in the middle. I think that'll work out better. Cut these 2 pieces, and they fit right in that radius. A little bit snug, but they'll work. So I got this set up, ready to tack. Now this is galvanized, so I'm only going to do a little tack on these. I'm not going to weld this up. I'm going to have to wait till I get some fresh air, because that is a poisonous gas as you're welding galvanized. So I'm just going to put a couple tacks in to hold it. And I put a couple tack welds in both of these. So now we're ready to see how it looks. Let's set this one on the other side. See how it looks together. And you know this piece is going to go up here. Cross support. So it's coming together. I think the next thing I'm going to do is probably going to make the holder for the tape that goes in the middle here. So I'll make that out of PVC pipe with a wooden hub in the middle. So we'll start working on that next. Going to measure between here. I'm getting about 13 and probably about 7/8. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this piece of 2-inch PVC pipe, schedule 40, to 13.5 inches. That'll be just a little bit shorter than the opening to make it easy to get in there. So we'll just mark it 13.5. I'm just going to take this over the bandsaw and cut that off. And then the next step, I'm going to get some 3/4 inch plywood. And I have this 2 1/4 inch hole saw. And the ID of this hole saw comes up almost exactly the ID of this pipe. So I want to use the plugs that come out of here to become like hubs in here so that I can mount this in there. So I'm just use, like I said, 3/4 inch plywood. I'm going to do that next, but let me cut this piece off and then we'll go over to the drill press and we'll drill these plugs out. Use the drill press with the hole saw, and I'm going to cut those 2 pieces out that form the hub. Beginnings of our hubs. And these discs I just made, I'm going to put T-nuts in them. So I'm going to have to drill this hole out. It's 1/4 inch now to make that 5/16 for the T-nut to go into the hole. So I'm going to go to drill press and drill these out real quick, and then we'll press those in. Installing T-nuts are fairly simple. You just basically put the T-nut in the hole you want. I usually use a piece of backup metal of some kind, and you just take a hammer and drive it in. Take the other one and set it to do the same thing. If it'll go, there it is. Just lay that on there and just bang it in. Those two T-nuts are ready. Might as well get started on this. The T-nut will go to the inside, and then we're going to put this axle into the hub. So just need a little bit of, that went in pretty easy. We'll do the opposite side. do basically the same thing. Just tap it. It may take more. You make the sand dish you made down a little bit. Decent to fit just perfect. Now, since they're somewhat snug, you may be able to glue that in, but where I have found some number 6 wood screws, I'm just going to put 3 of them on each side to support that. And then this is going to go right in there. It's for your tape reels to go. I'm going to use a Dispenser's tape and measure the outer diameter of this, or the circumference of this. Come up with 7.5. I already did the math. It comes up to be, if I want to equally space 3 holes, it's going to be 2.5 inches. So we'll start off at 1, at 0, 2.5, and 5. Then we're back to our beginning. We'll be on the other end, and we'll do the same thing for our 3 screws we're going to put in. I should have a shorter Dispenser's tape, make it a little easier. So go at 0, 2.5, and this doesn't have to be exact. I'm a little bit overboard with this. And then we'll mark in 3/8 of an inch. That's half the distance or half the thickness of the 3/4 inch piece of plywood. So I'm going to mark 3/8 pieces, and I'm going to drill and countersink the 6 holes. And the facets I'm going to be using are number 6 by 5/8 inch long flathead wood screws. All we need to do is install the wood screws in the spots that we drilled the countersunk. There's 6 of these all together. This piece will be just about done. The next thing we'll do is install this 1/4-20 bolt with the nut and washer onto this end and tighten it up. Fairly tight. Then I'm going to cut this off. Probably, for now I'm just going to make it about 1 inch long. I'm going to just cut this head off, and that'll form the part of the shaft that goes into that hole there. So we'll just do that off camera. I have this head cut off with this bolt now, so now this can go in like that, and this will support your tape reels. Then on the opposite side, I'm going to use a 1/4-20 bolt, but I wanted to have some kind of ease of installing it, so I want to put a 3/8 wing nut on it. I'm just going to weld this bolt to this wing nut. That way when I go to replace my, I'm just simulating how it's going to work. You can be able to just tighten this up with the wing nut. It'll work just like that. It's kind of working now that it's got some tension on it. But I'm just going to put a couple welds on that to hold that. And then your tape reels are all going to sit on here, and this is going to be stationary. So everything's squared up and clamped in, ready to be tack welded. So I think I'm going to tack weld this right now, get that done. I won't be doing that on camera. I'll do that off camera, but basically I'm just going to tack all the pieces together. I have the frame all welded up and I cleaned up the welds. I'm not going to show you these welds up close because I'm not a good welder. I think I spend about 10 minutes welding and a half hour to hour cleaning up the nasty welds. So got it all sanded down. I'm going to give it a coat of paint and then we'll go on to the next step of putting the final assembly. I completed painting this and let it dry overnight. So the next thing I want to do is I want to put the hacksaw blade for cutting the tape on the front. So I'm going to use number 6 screws with washers. Put them in. Screws are 632. And then I'm going to use a lock nut. So it doesn't come loose over time. Okay, the cutting blade secure. Next thing I purchased some rubber leg tips from Ace Hardware. They're 5/8 inch size. That seems to fit fairly tight, but that works fairly well as far as feet for this. They're going to be difficult. I was able to get one of these feet on off camera, but it was pretty rough. So I decided I'm going to heat these up a little bit with a heat gun so that they should be more pliable with a little bit once they're heated up. They're softened up a lot right now, so we'll see how that goes. Let's try this other one. It's already going on a lot easier. That one is on. Turn around the other way to put this back corner on. That's making it a whole lot easier. And the last one's still warm, so we'll try to get that on there. And it appears it's on there. I was able to get the feed on, so that's done. That was a little bit difficult. The next thing is to put the tape on the piece of pipe and then install that into the tape dispenser. Line that up and then take the screw with the bolt with a wing nut attached to it. Tighten that down and just take the tape out. Got it. Next thing is if the tape's hard to get out, you have the hand piece on the top to hold. Like that piece of duct tape there is kind of difficult to get out, difficult to cut. Strapper tape is one thing that you always have trouble with. I always fold a piece back so I can find the end, but with this I just put it on and cut it. That didn't cut too good. We'll try another piece, see if we can cut it a little better. Yeah, that cut pretty good. Now your tape is easily accessible. Get this off my fingers. So all you gotta do is get tape, pull it out, and you got a piece of tape. Easy as that. Piece of masking tape. This completes this video. Thanks for watching the Build It Place channel. If you have any comments, leave comments back to me. I'll try to reply. If you like this video I did of the multi-tape dispenser, give me a thumbs up. You can also subscribe to my channel. I plan to build a lot more of these types of projects around the shop. It could be anything. I have a long list of things that I'm planning on working on. So if you're interested, subscribe. Thanks again for watching.